When reality doesn't match the vision of how our creative journey ought to go in our minds, we assume that success was never meant for us. Every path worth doing comes with its own set of difficulties. We just have to kind of choose which hard we want to commit our lives to. Welcome back to another episode of the Pen to Plot podcast with your hosts, KJ Herman and Chelsea Fawcett.
We're your creative besties, and we're here to cheer you on and help you stay inspired to achieve your writing dreams.
Hey everyone, it's just KJ in this episode today. In our last update before our interview with sci-fi fantasy author Kevin Weir, if you haven't checked out that episode, I'll have the link right here. We mentioned that we wanted to come up with new ways to help artists feel more confident and inspired. And part of that, I believe, is being transparent about our own creative journeys. So, today I want to share a more personal update about a path that I've been pursuing that I've decided to let go of because I feel like it no longer serves me. And you might be an artist who feels kind of the same way too. After much turmoil, self-reflection, and struggle, I've decided essentially to give up on my dreams of becoming a storyteller. Here's the thing. I refuse to see my goals as unattainable fantasies. And instead of dreaming, I want to build a life around tangible, actionable plans that allow me to embrace my creativity in the present rather than chasing an illusion of future success. It's my belief that the idea of a dream actually kind of implies that the success of that dream is unattainable. And that fantasy has honestly blocked me from enjoying where I am in my creative journey right now. Now, instead of staying stuck, I'm starting to shift my mindset, taking deliberate, purposeful steps forward so my success is not just a matter of diving in head first and hoping for the best, or leaving things up to luck. What I wanted to share with you, if you too want to give up on your dreams, there are these touch points that have honestly been helping me to create this shift in mindset to take my goals more seriously. And I hope that they can help you too in shifting your mindset, if that is something that you would like to do. So the first point is shifting from dreaming to planning. When reality doesn't match the vision of how our creative journey ought to go in our minds, we assume that success was never meant for us. Our mistake is taking our dreams at face value rather than accepting the creative life that we live right now, taking it one day at a time and working toward consistent progress through careful planning and also allowing ourselves to live in the moment. Instead of saying to myself, I want to be a successful storyteller, I want to be famous, I'm defining my success by what it actually means for me in the present moment. For now, that means personally finishing my novel, growing the Pen to Plot podcast and production company, and continuing with audiobook narration. I've broken my goals, down into very small, achievable steps, with an emphasis on really attacking the tasks that have the highest return first, which right now is getting a lot of audiobook narration work. That is also while making a deliberate plan for addressing tasks that have long-term benefits, like growing our Pen to Plot podcast audience. Finishing my novel has a long-term benefit, and also making time to explore other creative avenues because, as creatives, we owe it to ourselves to create. A second touch point is reframing failure as data, not defeat. Any setback I had would just completely shatter my belief in myself. Each failure convinced me that my dream was impossible, and that was because I kept failing. I wasn't talented enough, I wasn't young enough, and I wasn't connected enough or popular enough. And, just giving up felt like it was the only option because I wasn't going to achieve or be the best at the thing anyway. So why commit all of this time and effort to something that I was just going to fail at? And I kept on putting myself in that frame of mind. When I didn't see steady financial progress, it crushed my hopes for the future. So I gave up on a lot of things. That is just information. So if something didn't work, I can ask myself, why did that happen and what can I do differently? Instead of what I used to do was just assuming that I wasn't good enough and I was never going to be good enough. Or that it was going to take too much time for me to be good enough, and by the time I could be sufficient, I would be too old. Take a risk. We don't have to be perfect to start something. Here's a little secret from me to you. You don't actually have to be an expert to be worthy of being compensated for your art. This was actually one of the biggest things that I realized in my creative practice, especially not at the beginning. Oh, that sounds like so controversial to say that, but a lot of people just kind of know how to bullshit themselves and then align with other experts while they're continuously learning. So don't tell too many people that it's a secret, but take the risk, because chances are whatever you have to offer right now, that someone will actually be willing to pay for it. You've just got to be proactive about finding your audience, and then also continually improve your craft, improve your offering. I also keep track of my progress. I make notes on what is working and what needs tweaking. I've had to rework my offerings and have learned a lot of things through my mistakes and how to improve upon what I can offer to the world. That's okay, and it is a normal part of a very, very messy process that is this creative journey. Touch point number 3 that has been really helpful for me is also managing my doubt by taking action anyway in spite of my fears. Doubt is often the biggest roadblock, stopping us from reaching our full potential as creatives. The most effective way to combat that is to take action anyway. Get uncomfortable, be brave, because first comes fear and then comes freedom. It pushes you to be more comfortable the next time something similar happens. So doing something that makes you feel a little uncomfortable every day will help you to feel, or at least it's helped me to feel more resilient, and the big scary things to just kind of feel more doable. Touch point number 4 is building a sustainable creative life instead of expecting art to support me overnight. Which I never necessarily did, but sometimes would fall into that biased thinking. Pursuing a dream, as I once defined it, only trapped me in a cycle of disappointment. But shifting my mindset to see my goals as plans, as objectives I can work towards, has freed me from the weight of expectation and actually allows me to embrace creativity for what it truly is. That's a lifelong journey. Back then, I would dive head first, push myself to burnout, and then I hope for the best, but push myself to burnout. And now I've learned to embrace slow progress as the best kind of progress, and just to appreciate the creative life that I have in the present and actually enjoy what I'm doing. So there are a few things that I'm doing right now where I can have a creative practice, but also be financially stable. That is offering creative services through Pen to Plot Productions, which, is doing the audiobook narration, and other creative services like marketing and book media. This has really helped to make creativity sustainable while also pushing out and expanding that as well. I'm slowly letting go of the idea that I have to suffer for my art. I don't want to starve on a dream. I want to thrive on a plan. Which brings me into point number 5. A collection of my biggest takeaways is how my creativity is my business. As a creative that is turning my passion into my career, this collection of tidbits have been some of the biggest realizations for me when it comes to turning this dream into not a dream, but a plan that is actionable. For one, that is taking my creative business seriously. Because if I don't take my creative business seriously, take myself seriously as an artist, no one else will. And if no one takes it seriously, they assume that this is free time they can take from me. So if I'm working on my creative practice and I don't upfront show that it's a serious thing for me, then other people will think they can interrupt me. The second point is being selective about the advice that I take. Because even industry professionals can pass down limiting beliefs about creative careers, often treating them as unattainable, even though they've attained them. So the moment that I sense doubt in someone's advice, no matter who they are, even if they're like a big name person, I really have to remind myself to take it with a grain of salt or just ignore it altogether. Because I don't have time for doubt. I only have time for action. And personally, I don't really want to hear why something can't be done. I want to focus on all of the ways that it can be done. And if one way fails, what are all the other ways that you can try to do it? That brings me to the next point, is the idea of having a plan B. This is one of the most important things I've realized about planning for my creative future, is that our plan B should be in service of plan A, not an alternative to plan A. Because contingency plans in a business are made to keep a business thriving, not to just like shut it down when something unexpected happens. And this is actually going to be a topic that I want to take a deep dive on in one of our upcoming episodes, is this idea of plan Bs and how to have like an effective plan B that isn't just giving up on your artistic vision for the future and what you want to accomplish as an artist. Whatever you decide to pursue in life, every path worth doing comes with its own set of difficulties. It's like everything is all hard. We just have to kind of choose which kind of hard we want to commit our lives to. Personally, if you're like me, you're a storyteller, a writer, you probably don't want to commit to the difficulty of working a job that you hate just so that others will take you seriously, or for the sake of comfort. If you're like me, like I feel like that kind of comfort, it's actually a lot more like suffocation. But at the same time, I don't want to starve on a dream anymore either. I want to thrive on a plan for my art that is achievable, because it is achievable. There is always another way. I actually think back on a quote by Robert Kiyosaki in his book Rich Dad, Poor Dad that goes, the poor and middle class often say, I can't afford it. The rich, on the other hand, ask, how can I afford it? By changing their mindset, they open up possibilities and opportunities. I believe that this can also be applied to artists of all kinds to make it more appropriate for an artist. It could go something like, the starving artist says, I can't achieve this. But the curious artist asks, how can I achieve this? And I don't know about you, but I choose to be curious and to embrace uncertainty and to take control of my creative life. I want to stop dreaming, and I want to start doing. So thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to the Pentaplot podcast. And if you're also tuning in on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, because your support really helps our content actually get seen, so we can share more inspiring stories and personal anecdotes that hopefully give you guys more confidence in your own creative journey. So yeah, keep going, keep creating, and remember, your story matters, so let's write it.